Well, I'm not going to lie. There's a ton that are my property flooding in. But only the most powerful or wealthy that could have other homes or whatever, wherever I end up. We all knew we weren't going to stay here. The summers are too brutal anyway. So within the next 2 weeks or so, we got to figure out where we're going to go. So, okay, I want to go for traveling advertising jobs because they're fun and easy. I don't know if they're normally fun and easy, so maybe that's my kind of salesperson topic I would like. I don't know. But the advertising sales seemed fun and easy to me. So I'm just trying to pick something fun and easy so my death is never abused. And then try to find a company where my powers would at least benefit the company, even though, fuck this. I'm trying to get a property possession company to just show up in the mix of the job openings and be like a ringer, be a setup company that really is truly mine in secret, but nobody knows it. And rock and roll my powers in a company and have a good time in a job where I can manipulate my powers to make the job into whatever I want. That's my ultimate goal. These enemies are enemies, but I've won, so it's really not that big of a fight. It just seems like whatever, because they work so hard to make me seem like such degraded crap, nothing in a corner. Whatever, I don't really need an image or reputation. I'm God. But it lets the United States buy max out, degrading the existence of the death of God until they're dead or whatever. But, so I'm trying to bring companies in. As I try to find a company where I can do some fun traveling and advertising, I can't seem to find any. So I can't seem to find any companies that are mine, into property possession where there's a guarantee I'm going to be more than protected, safe, and happy because I'm the one doing it all. And I don't have to depend on the good or bad choice of a human for anything. So I'm migrating more towards those merchant companies. Because I have some companies that are merchant service companies, like credit card companies. So I'm thinking of trying to get my dead God existence into a credit card processing company that cannot do wrong because they're my property. Well, the ownership is my property. Therefore, they could not do wrong. So they would stay protected by my powers because they can't make choices with the United States to do something wrong and end up in danger or trouble. Then I can just use my powers to run the company and my job while I'm there. See, that's so much more easy than any of this other stuff. So that's what I'm working hard on today. Since I'm stuck in a corner, husbands are depressed. I have to wait for one husband that has to lock into my phone before I drive around. He just has to feel that safe. Then I'm just sitting here doing what I gotta do. I've applied for every job I could see that seemed like I could fit. And so that the United States and Dubai don't know which one's mine. And I'm going to try to weasel and wiggle and figure it out and end up in the company that's mine without them knowing. Once I work in a company, it's not going to matter if they're mine because it'll already be done. So the key here is to get hired where they don't know if it's a good or bad company. Start the job for a week or so where they don't know if it's a good or bad company. And then make it obvious who and what they are after I have a job and there's nothing the United States or Dubai can do to ruin anything. But they're going to try to make friends. They're going to try to make friends with all these companies to be so helpful about We have to talk to you as companies excessively, before anyone can ever hire Bonnie, because we don't want her to have anything good in the first place. But if we can't stop it, we need to make sure you're a company that's gross like us, so we can manipulate and control the environment. Yeah, probably not. You know, what the United States and Dubai will never acknowledge is that part of my resurrection rights as a god is everything. Like, they don't acknowledge that. I've resurrected as a god. I have the legal right in my powers to everything. So, like, they want to murder and destroy, but I'm a god who has the right to have everything. Like, this is not going to work in their direction at some point, no matter what they do. It's like I own every spiritual law and rule that gives me everything, and they own every spiritual law and rule that kills them, like, fuck, into the oblivion of forever, like it's nothing. And at some point, this will just not be a winning system, and they won't be able to win at anything. So it's like, whatever. I mean, I'll just happy-go-lucky plunk through this thing. Don't give a shit. But so I've decided merchant companies. I have sold credit card machines. I have gotten some little awards that said I was doing pretty good selling credit card machines. But I never really got that far, because the United States would just make sure it was a gross, bad company that just was mean or gross, or like, they'd just make it so I'd want to quit, or nobody'd want the job, or whatever. Or got the company to be so gross and abusive until nobody would want to work there. But like I said, this is a force destined to go my way. So I don't think they're going to succeed at pretty much anything anymore. You know, but except stupid small shit until they're dead and gone. But so I got a property husband coming in. He just wants to walk into the phone. Then maybe I can go to work. I know I can't do that Walmart delivery more than 2 or 3 deliveries or whatever. But maybe I can make $20-$30, have some for some food. And then hopefully with these husbands logging into my phone, it'll bring me some better options by tomorrow. And then I really just need to plug away at work in any job I can work, because money has to keep coming in. And then I think I'm going to have to go with these traveling merchant jobs. So I'm going to try to find a merchant service processing where they travel the person. So I'm going to try to find a merchant credit card sales position where I can travel and find a little city or town I like, and start trying to recreate my life or existence in a little town or city I like that won't be hot in the summer. So see, it's a good thing I didn't get a storage. I have one stupid big black bag that is never really that big of a fucking federal case anywhere to read. One big black bag, and I didn't get a storage. I didn't buy any extra stupid stuff, so I just got one bag, quick and easy to travel around in, quick and easy to start your life all over somewhere else in. I had to take off and leave that trailer because they made sure I had no money, couldn't pay my bills for 2 months. So there was no way I was going to hold on to my old 5 billion tons of things I had bought anyway. So I'm going to have to re-buy businessy clothes and stuff, but I have some pretty cute little nice simple basic dresses. I'll just wear my basic cute dresses, get enough sales to have enough money, and start buying the businessy things people expect you to show up in and be wearing. But they wouldn't mind if you wore a pretty dress with a sweater or something, because like, salespeople get out there. Salespeople like to wear pretty fancy dresses and have an excuse to wear a pretty fancy dress. So I'll probably be able to be okay with all that. It's a simple dress, but they're pretty dresses. I could probably walk around and do sales till I get enough pay, or get paid enough to buy a business dress and a business jacket or something. See, then when we can find a city that's not too hot that we know we want to start figuring out how to be in, then it would make more sense to get a storage and do all this other stuff. See, I knew that was the smarter thing. So let's wait for the husband to connect to the phone. Today seems pretty much a write-off. Everybody was too depressed. I'll try to get any work in for a few bucks. If I can't, I'll go back to doing this paperwork. Use whatever few bucks I got left and just buy whatever and just figure it out for one more day. I applied for absolutely every job I could possibly fit into. I'll go ahead and do that again tomorrow. And then on Monday, rock and roll with whoever gives me an interview or a chance and see where I am. Let me know if there's anything else I need to be plugging away at or thinking about, people. And then you know what I'm working on. You know what I'm working on. You know what I'm working on. I'm working with all the gods to spoil the poor husbands. Once I found out these poor husbands are terrified, I felt so bad. I ran to every god and said, oh my gosh, living like shit is easy for a dead god, but these poor husbands are falling apart. So all of us gods are going to try to put everything we have together and just spoil the holy moly out of them. Poor guys. And then, yeah, if these property possession ones that I barely got control of, and my powers barely took over. So I have the property possession husbands. I've barely taken them over. My enemies did not want me to have something that lucrative and freebie and fun and easy. But I finally locked in and got them. I will run around with my property possessions and see how much farther I can get, how much more I can do. If you guys have any other tips, give me all the other tips you guys have. And keep me posted.